All right, all right, all right. Here we are. Post nut clarity.
Post nut clarity. If you're not in a state of post nut clarity,
What do you got?
you're in a constant state of pre nut delusion.
Oh god. Yeah.
Oh, Greg, this is my boy, Brandon.
Hey,
This
Brandon.
is Greg.
Good to meet you, man.
You too, my friend. Likewise, you know.
I've been telling Brandon a lot about you, man, when we met in Vegas a few weeks ago, and just
Yeah.
the inspiration I got from you and all the good vibes and everything. So I wanted y'all to meet and let's do the show.
Awesome.
Man.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and you know, just got to go with the flow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why don't you
man.
introduce yourself, man? Give us some background, just brief, and we'll bounce in and out of that throughout the
Okay.
show. Get to know you more.
I'm Greg. I just kind of go through life like a flow, and hasn't always been that way, but you know, here we are, and my life led me to this, and here I am.
Man, so well put. No, very vague, but I love it. So
Yeah.
Greg moved to Vegas a couple of weeks before we met in Vegas.
Congratulations. Love Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's actually coming from your neck of the woods. Brandon's out in Florida. So Greg was over. What were you doing, Greg?
I'm a Floridian at heart, you know, just the weather, the palm trees, the water, you know.
What part?
I was in Brickell, Miami for a little while. I've lived in like Boca area, things like that. Originally from California, and I went sailing for like about 8 months after I lived in Brickell, and then, you know, life kind of brought me to Vegas because it's sort of a hub, you know. And it's easy for me to move here. I've got like business to do in LA and Northern California, Oregon, things like that. So
Sure.
kind of just, I like it in Vegas because it really has a lot to offer, and the desert's kind of a beautiful place, especially when you go from living on a boat in the Caribbean in solitude to being, you know, around a lot of people in the desert. It's contrast, right? So I believe that the most profound self-growth comes from contrast, you know. So it really gives you something there, and you can kind of use that contrast to feel into yourself. So just part of my journey, and I always like putting myself in those, you know, sort of predicaments, and you get a lot from it.
Sounds like Terrence Howard, the yin and yang, the opposites of each other. I think you're 100% spot on. You need balance in your life and everything. I mean, once you live in a paradise, you lose the paradise feel. You live in the desert, you like that. The dry, your body gets used to that. So you gotta keep it flowing. You gotta bounce around. What do they say?
I kind of believe that we're always living in a constant state of paradise, and you know, it's like the self-growth is what our life's about. So if you can just, you know, always be in that space of paradise and move where you're supposed to. Like when I first moved on my sailboat, I mean, I was like, I'm never coming back, you know, and that's what I really believed, because I was like, I'm just going to sail and do this. I can work on my computer. There's just so much. You don't really need a lot to live on the boat, and it's just a free space. And you know, I knew I had someone to meet in St. Bart, and I kind of had a goal to get there, and it seemed like it wasn't going to happen. But after I met that person that I was kind of envisioning, just everything changed that moment, and I just put my boat at a yacht broker and jumped on a plane and was like, okay, I've got to go back and handle some things. So it's like I just don't think we know a lot, and it's sort of more living in a state of like surrender to a higher power. And once you can kind of like just sort of listen to what's around you, it almost tells you where to go. So I try not to think of where I'm going to be, and I try to just live in the space I am.
Love that, man. Yeah, it's like in a short phrase, I call that being a yes man to whatever life gives you, right? Yeah, sure. You know, this happens, that happens. Always opening the doors, never walking up to it and not even peeking behind what's about to happen, but flowing with it, you know, letting it letting it guide you instead of you controlling it, because we have a finite amount of time. We should enjoy every single moment, good and bad, and not let it control us, but let us flow with life.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I kind of like to live.
Yeah, I like to, when you do good things for people in your life, there's a lot of opportunity around you at all times. So once you have endless opportunity, then it kind of gives you a place where you sort of have to sit with yourself and feel into like what's right or what's wrong or what the best path is. And it becomes more and more clear. I think there's a challenge when you're living out of alignment with yourself and you get into a space where you just take what's in front of you, the opportunity, blindly, because it might just be like another step into the same cycle you're in. So I just think there's a lot of power in feeling into yourself when you have things present themselves to you. It's like I see a lot of people make these impulsive choices, and it really takes a second to process how you actually feel about something. So when I get into those spaces where like I could just say yes right away or no, if it's a challenge to discern what's best, kind of just take a second to sit and actually feel into it, So I think that all of it's some sort of beautiful challenge in a way, and not knowing could be a fearful state, but it's kind of become exciting to me that I don't know exactly where I'm going to be in a month or where I'm going to be in 6 months. I have like an idea. I'm going to go back on my boat. I'm going to do things that I'm supposed to do. But instead of putting this big expectation on where I'm going to be or how it's going to go or what goal I'm going to hit when, it's like I kind of have a pretty good idea of where I'm going to end up. And I know that a lot more beautiful things are going to show up on the way than I could even imagine. So I live in that space, basically.
Heck yeah, man. No, I think, like you were saying, like Joe was saying, whenever you go into things with an openness, not the mind always wants to criticize and judge immediately when it sees something or when it hears something and it's processing. And a lot of times, I don't know if we even talked about this last week, but a lot of times the mind is constantly in this state of, survival or, fight or flight. And so it's going to choose the path of least resistance. It's going to choose a thing that looks the easiest, that looks the most comfortable, whatever. And you get to a point to where you have to really like get this thing under subjection and say, look, I'm going to assess this with an open mind, with an open heart, with no prejudgment about it. And the universe is very, very intelligent. Like it got us here without us having any part that I know of us being here. And so if it got us here, it's got the ability to sustain us in every path, every door that it causes us to walk on or walk through. And so I just think that's super cool because so many people, including myself in certain areas of my life over time, have lived in fear of, what if, or, or making impulsive decisions because you've got this immediate issue in front of you. And so you start to do things that are out of alignment with who you are. And then that just starts a shit show. Just a spiraling shit show from there. So that's pretty cool. I like the way you put that.
Yeah, you touched on a couple of things that are really, excuse me, hold on. They're really fascinating because it's like fear is such a driver for the majority of people, and it's like a lot of times fear spines from the fear of losing something. So it's like when you're gripping and holding on to things, it creates a space of fear of losing those things. So it's like if you can adopt the mindset of like you've got nothing to lose, not in a way where you're just, being careless, but what do we really have to lose? I lose a few items and like throw some shit away that probably isn't serving you anyways, or some personal belongings and stuff like that.
A little bit of pride.
A little bit of pride, but what's pride? It's just like an ego attachment, It's like who gives a shit, right? So, I mean, get rid of the pride and get rid of the fear of loss, and it's like we live in a consumer world, so everyone's just buying shit to feel better, and that's creating more shit to lose. Sorry, I should work on my language, but
shit's fine.
Yeah.
That's the shallow end of the pool play.
Yeah, it's a deep pool, Well, yeah, so I try to just navigate my life with like, if I lose something, I wasn't supposed to be there anyways. So I kind of am able to not to live in a space where there's no fear. It's like, it's like you
Mhm.
go through, everyone goes through their gyrations of life, and it always works out, always does. So what's the point of stressing over it? And you talk about thoughts, it's like, I don't truly believe thoughts are our own. It's like a collective consciousness of thoughts, and they're just always there. And it's like, are they even your thoughts? Like, probably not. And when you get into the space where all you have is thoughts in your mind, how are you supposed to feel into your heart? Because you're constantly moving in this chaotic cycle of thoughts in, thoughts out, and it's like people allow thoughts to come in, but they don't allow them to leave as easily as they come. And the space in between your thoughts is really where you get that clarity. Maybe that's what
That's
that
good.
post-nut clarity is about, that space in between the thoughts.
I 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
They
Yes.
it's because the moment between the thoughts is the present.
Right.
That's exactly what it is. The absence of thought is being in the moment. And that's where you get the real joy that actually lives within you versus these fake emotions that are just attached to memories or attached to the unknown. You know,
Hmm.
um, it was shocked me when I realized all emotions live in your head. They're not, they're real in the sense that you feel them because of the thought of them, which then changes your body, makes you feel it because your body is actually, I mean, being told what to do by your brain. So it's not that you feel it in your body first and it goes to your brain. It's the complete opposite. A lot of people want to mirror those together and marry them together where they're the same thing, and it's just not that way. Um, the fear of falling, the fear of not being loved, all these things are intertwined in a thought and not actual physical, you know?
Yeah, your thoughts can be like a delusional conversation in your head, and with that, you can really talk yourself in or out of whatever way you actually feel. So it's more about feeling than it is about thinking, because your body will show you the way, and if you don't sit with the way you feel, then what do you really have? You just have that delusional conversation in your head with a bunch of archaic thoughts, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, uh, I'm sorry that I referenced the Bible so much, but I used to be a pastor, Greg, for some years. And one thing that it says, be anxious for nothing, but in all things through prayer and supplication, make your petition known unto him. Now, I'm not trying to be Christian specific. That could be the universe, whatever anyone believes in. But there's something about getting out of the thoughts that produce these feelings of anxiety to where I have to go do this or I have to make this happen. Like the universe is so very intelligent, infinite wisdom, infinite understanding, whatever you want to call it. It's so intelligent, and I really think that we've got to do a better job, especially as men, because there's a lot of ego attached to being a man. There's the provider aspect of it. There's the am I doing things the right way? All of that, and I think what ultimately comes down to is that there's a certain level to get the control that we think we want in our lives. There's a level of surrender that has to take place. I,
Absolutely.
I think people get that like they feel like they have like control is like this action, and I feel like control is like a state of being from understanding that there are so many elements that are out of my control, and if I learn to, it's no different than being on a boat and going against the current, like just
Yeah.
or setting your sail against the wind. Like if you just set your sail to the blowing of the wind, you'll end up where you need to be. But if you're sitting
Right.
there and you're trying to, but that's about surrender. There's a certain
Yeah.
level of the process that I have to let go in this sailboat in order for this sailboat to do what it needs to actually do. And so, that's a very, very tough thing for me, is trying to find the balance, quote unquote, between what is it surrender, and then what is what is like toxic control, which again is just anxiety, always, you know, being on the alert of what's to come, always fearing the negative or the evil or the bad or whatnot. And I think there's a piece that passes your understanding or your thoughts that you can tap into, that regardless of what external things are happening around you, like there's a centeredness that you can live in and be assured that when you don't know the way, that there's something you're attached to, this universal conscious that is always in the know and always understands and it knows all things. And so it's just surrendering to that process, I think is super, super, super important.
Yeah, I mean, surrender is the most powerful thing that we have, right? So it's like, and you touched on a lot of good things, and it's like, it doesn't really matter what subscription of belief you subscribe to, right? It's like, it's all one thing. And it's like, you're the center of your universe, I'm the center of my universe, and we truly are the center. So, and the masculine and feminine has been so convoluted with all of the media, the mass formation psychosis crap, you know, and it's like, the true power of the masculine is in the gentle state of being, and that's a state of surrender. And the masculine is a container for the feminine, and the feminine becomes a guide for the masculine in many ways, because they have that universal power, you know, a little more clear than most men, and that's where that synergy lies, I believe. So it's like, when you can surrender to that and realize that, you know, we are the center, and then you really get a lot from that, and it is universal wisdom and knowledge, and it's almost like a language that you can't quite put into words, but it's a state of knowing where you realize that, like, we, in the grand scheme of things, we know nothing at all, you know. And it's like, when you get to that space, you sort of know everything, because you can just walk down that path. And you know, I think religion is great, and I think there's a lot of different systems of beliefs, but it all leads to one place, and there's a lot of convoluted information in there that's just designed to keep you in that chaotic state, where it just keeps you away from that peaceful space that you're referring to. And that peaceful space is where you really gain everything.
I like what you said about it all leads to the same place. I used to tell people all the time, you know, Joel knows in Houston, you got 45 and you got 610 and you got 59 and you got I-10. But eventually all of these roads or highways, interstates, eventually they all meet up at some point. It doesn't matter if you take the back road or this and that. There's so many different ways to get to the destination. Then I think the problem with religion is that sometimes they cause you to be romantic with the route that you take. Mm-hmm. And instead of letting that GPS say rerouting, or hey, there's traffic over here, 12 minutes, why don't you go this direction instead? You know, but you know, if like Marie is my girlfriend. I laugh at her so much because she's just like her dad. Her dad's a retired firefighter. He works for the Department of Transportation, all that stuff. And she is one that will look at the GPS so that she can do the opposite of what the GPS is telling you to do. And sometimes I tell her, I said, babe, you know, you could eliminate a whole lot of stress if you would just trust these multi-billion-dollar people on this multi-billion-dollar app who have spent so much money, time, and energy to show you what the best way is to get to the grocery store over there, instead of frustrating yourself and being bent on going against the grain. Like, why don't you just trust it sometimes, you know? And
well, I'll play devil's advocate with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's every religion has a different app. Apple,
well, sure.
Google, Waze, they're all saying, follow me, because I can get you there. I love the analogy of religion as a diet. So you got people who want to give you all the meat and tell you, hey, this is why, well, all the reasons how your body works, right? And you can get really deep into losing weight. All the meat, take it all.
Really deep in all the meat.
It's Pride Month. We love it. The meats and potatoes of like dieting, like micro counting, understanding like your body and what is it doing. And then you have other people that are like, just follow this plan. Just do
follow
this
the
thing.
bananas.
Just eat a potato diet, but not given the fundamentals. And I look at religion the same way, like just speak in tongues and just do this or just pay tithes. It's, but where I think all of us are outside of that. We want the macro biological aspect of us and be like, oh, okay, so my body doesn't do carbs very well. I understand that. This is why, and this is how I should eat. These are the vitamins I should be taking, and this is what the amount of exercise I need to sustain my body weight and my muscle mass. And so there is a growing population of people outside of religion that are, to Greg's point, we're all going to get to the same place, but it's the vehicle or who's guiding you to it. Not every, and some people can do a diet and fall off, or some people look at opening your mind, expanding properties to really understand who we are as a singularity soul, experiencing life through different bodies. And they're like, that's crazy. I don't even want to go down that road. Just tell me I'm gonna be good if I do what you tell me to do, and I'll pay my tithes, and I'm gonna get to the end, and I've been a good person, and I've done all the things, jumped all the ropes. That's kind of how I look at it. It's how much do you want to know about it?
Yes, I think it's a little
independently.
Yeah, I think it's a little challenging to compare religion to a GPS map, but I see where you're going. It's just with the GPS map, it's like, you know that you're going to the grocery store. You know, religion's a little more confusing because you don't know where the grocery store is, right? And so you're trying to find that. And so you're getting these different maps that you don't know where they lead. And that's a little harder to conceptualize. And forget what
That's why
I
I
was going to
changed it to
say.
diet.
Yeah,
The goal is to lose weight. Or be
I got lost at taking the meat or whatever you said.
The thing for me is that, like, I'm not against her looking for a different direction. It's the fact that you don't have to lead trying to go against the grain in every single situation. Some stuff should just flow. Everything's not constipated. You know, everything's not jammed up. That's my point.
Yeah.
Maybe they ate too much meat.
No,
took too much of the meat.
Some of that friction, like self-created friction, I just believe comes with like wanting to fill yourself with more chaos, because it's like you could be afraid of actually looking at yourself, right? So it's like if you have nothing to do other than follow the GPS, and you have that space and clarity to kind of like see your own reflection in that challenging traffic situation or when you're being rerouted, then it's like most people grasp for an additional level of chaos so they don't have to look at that. So you know, what I like about the roadmap thing is it kind of coincides with like the neural pathways in your brain, and a lot of people, you know, it's like we get traumatized in one neural pathway and we don't see the other roads. And so I think that religion, other plant medicines and things like that can sort of show you that there is more than one way through your mind. And that kind of brings you into a space of clarity where, you know, you don't necessarily have to fight the current. You can just follow the GPS, or you can subscribe to a system of beliefs, you know, for however long it takes for you to actually like gain some sort of perspective, right? It's like if a fish always swims in water, and you tell it like, oh, you're swimming in water, it has no fucking idea. But if you grab the fish and pull it out of the water and it's like not being able to breathe and it's seeing the river, then it then knows that, oh, I live in water. But if you're constantly taxing the same highway at 5 o'clock when there's traffic and you don't realize there's a frontage road, you know, then you're just constantly battling something that you don't really need to. And if you are subscribed to one system of belief with, as far as religion goes, one path, you know, it's like, how are you going to know what path you're in if you don't at least look at some other versions of that, you know? And so a lot of this can just be solved with some stillness and self-discovery. So it's something I believe that stillness is something that everybody could use more of, and it's what's kind of being lost with this whole flip on your phone. There's a whole movement of all of this now, like I need this now and that now, and you know, it's like, what happened to patience and stillness? And out of that comes like awareness and clarity, right?
Yeah, Love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of neuropathways and enhancements or awareness, if I want you to give what you want to give in this space. There's no like, hey, let's talk about everything, but some of the things that you're doing interest me, and because you hear a lot about psilocybin recently, just coming into the picture of society, and kind of trying to separate it from other things that are out there in the class drug world. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you do and what you're doing?
I can talk a little bit about, yeah, I mean, I'm an open book, so it's like I do like plant medicines and psychedelics and things like that because they give you sort of a peek behind the curtain, is what I'd like to say. And the one thing that's missing in that space is literacy, right? It's like there was a lot of bad press like in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And I believe the reason for the bad press was because if people were, microdosing mushrooms and being in harmony with nature, then the whole programming of society wouldn't have taken hold in such a deep way where people just become sort of robotic and they work to exist instead of live. And that's a really challenging program to sort of process. And it's nice that there's a lot of, new articles and new research. I mean, the research has actually been around for a long time, and it goes back hundreds, tens of, decades. And for psychedelics have been a part of arguably like most different cultures. There's so many theories about it, and there's so many, like, there's stone carvings of the bee man that was the shaman. I believe it was like the Mexican culture. Don't quote me on it, but you get the idea of it. But in the cave, there's this bee man that was carved in stone, and the hunters would collect mushrooms and give them to the beekeeper, and the beekeeper would preserve them in honey. And the honey would like turn blue from the psilocybin in some cases, other cases not, depending on the mushroom strain. And they would do these ceremonies, usually like moonlight or whatever, with their tribe or culture or whatever you want to call it. And it would create a space of like connectivity between the people and healing, really, and also evolving your mind. There's not many things that we have on this earth that promote new neural pathway growth and repair, and so psilocybin is one of those. And if I was a large government and I wanted people to work a 40-hour job and buy a liability, call it a home, and then make it the American dream, I wouldn't really want people to have some sort of I don't want to call it, let's call it a sacrament that can create a deeper alignment with yourself and nature and actually what's real. So if you want to, let's say, control and manipulate people, why would you put that out there? And, wouldn't it make sense to promote alcohol and things that sort of dumb you down and bring you out of alignment, so that way you just keep going through the motions because you're too fatigued? And so let's just say you wanted to control a population. Let's get them drunk. Let's give them a job. Let's tell them a house is an asset. And let's make a whole class of people that work to build something. And I'm not saying that I'm not for or against really any opinion. This is my awareness. And with mushrooms now, it's like, look at humanity. Everybody's in a pressure cooker. People worship the dollar like it's God or something. And you're missing the point. It's like that's not the point of life. No one remembers you by, how much money or what car you drove. It's like, who were you? Right. So
Yeah.
how do you find out who you are? It's like, connect with yourself and connect with nature. What helps you do that? There's a lot of things that do, and there's a lot of things that don't. Do you think anyone ever went to a bar and got drunk and came out a better person?
Yeah, nobody gets drunk for clarity.
No.
Maybe a better dancer that's
Maybe,
in their own
maybe.
head.
Yeah, maybe.
I get drunk for two reasons. If I'm in a bad state, to either escape from something or do something dumb.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, we're in a place where humanity's hurting, everyone's in a pressure cooker. you know, you talk about inflation and all of these things and money and all this stuff, and it's like they're just following something they're being told. You know, it's like money isn't, it's just fucking fake. You know, it's a
Yeah.
utility, and it's just printed whenever they want to print it, and it's given. But
It's not
the
even our
thing is,
money. It's not even our government's money.
no, no, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, so you know, to bring it back, it's like we're here now in this reality, and you've got everybody that's already subscribed to this whole American dream or whatever it is to keep you working until you're basically too old to do anything. And then at that point, people start inventing their lives, or just I call it arresting life, where they just kind of, you know, just sort of be in this space of like, what did I do for the last 40 years? You raise some
Yeah.
kids, you put them back into the system. I think that's fantastic, wonderful, all these things. But like, what did you actually do? You know, you went and worked your job, and you went home and you paid your bills, and you were told a house is an asset when the whole time you're told the house is an asset. It's like, why, if the house is an asset, does the bank make sure you can afford it? You know, because
Yep.
the bank's making sure that you can afford a liability, right? You know, and it's like, so we don't need to get into the financial thing at this
I love it,
moment, but
man.
but you bring it to this place where everyone's hurting, everyone's in a pressure cooker, okay? And they are doing exactly what you said, numbing themselves on Friday night, getting drunk, and Saturday, and then because it's so bad out there, from what I can see in the, you know, as far as the majority of the population goes, you're getting people that are coming to work less productive on Monday, more hungover. People are suicidal. You know, it's like they can barely afford to pay. They can barely afford to pay their bills. Like the people that work at my building can't even afford to live here as prices go up. Like
Yeah.
it's not working. And so, what do you do as a government when you need some relief for humanity? Like the reason I think it's going to go legal is because everyone's so hurting that like, and the program is already so strong that like, let's give the people some relief. Like people need some relief. So it's like the program's not going to cease to exist. It's just, let's, if people were eating mushrooms on Friday night and Saturday, they'd feel better on Sunday. They'd actually be more productive in work, and there'd be some relief in between. And at this point, it's not going to collapse the capitalistic system. You know, it's going to create, it's going to fuel it in a way where people can have a little bit more of a balance. And yes, sure, some people will unplug and go into other spaces and hopefully create good and do some good. But like, you know, there's a lot of pressures from, you know, money and, you know, places that we'll say aren't good. And let's just allow a space for people to feel into that can actually create something that helps people, you know? So I really believe in some of the plant medicine things, and it's like, whose right is it to say what we can and can't eat? You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you want to eat a mushroom, go ahead and eat a fucking mushroom. Like who we're gonna be controlled over something? It's like you're allowed to poison your body with alcohol, where I don't know one study that says alcohol is good for you. I mean, your body produces what alcohol it needs to an exact amount to keep your blood in the way it needs to flow. So even if you take one sip of alcohol, it throws that off and takes several days for it to reset. So like, why are you putting that into your body? You know, and it's like, oh, but you can't put a mushroom in. Where's all the bad stuff about mushrooms other than, you know, manipulated articles? So it's like anyone that has anything against mushrooms, it's like, you know, now there's more information about how great they are.
Yeah. Brandon, can you, or you edit your computer, you could pull up a
Yeah,
slide.
yeah.
There's a drug chart. I found it very interesting. It's basically, it's a graph. It's drugs by harmfulness or harmfulness to your body or something like that. And you'll see this graph. And if you could pull that up real quick while we chat about it, because it to your point, Greg, it really does show the most harmful drug that we to humans is alcohol.
Mhm.
And it's funny when you see the least harmful drug.
Yeah.
And it, I don't partake, but I find it fascinating that people have written and seen this in the history books. You went back and you were talking about the history of it. Have you heard of the stoned ape theory?
Is that the whole how the apes evolved from eating the mushrooms, and then is that theory? Yeah,
yes. So they started, obviously they're hunter and gatherers, and as they're hunting, okay, here's the chart. Look at the top. Alcohol. Heroin is less deadly than alcohol is. And on down the line. What's the last one?
Mushrooms.
And do you know that study? I heard it from a scientist that was on the Joe Rogan Experience. He says most of those deaths, or was it banned substance score 100 out of 200, harmful damage. The damage and harm to your body for mushrooms is usually people falling down the stairs.
Yeah, I don't think there's a known lethal dose of mushrooms. I could be totally wrong on that. I mean, I know I heard of a story where someone died because they thought they could fly and jumped off a balcony or something, but I mean, I don't see how there must have been something else in the equation, but like, go sit in nature and eat as much mushrooms as you want. You might have a challenging ego death if you're out of alignment, but that's about it.
Harm to others, obviously zero. I find it fascinating. Now, the stoned ape theory is that the early hominins, they were hunter and gatherers. They were, chasing down animals to kill. Well, what are they producing? They're producing feces.
Yeah, the cow dung,
as they're tracking
animal
them,
dung.
They're tracking them. What grows on those? Yeah. But mushrooms.
Yeah, psilocybin-based
mushroom. As they're tracking them, they're hungry because that's what they're out there to do. They're out there to hunt. They probably haven't eaten in months. So what are they going to do? They're going to pick up things they can, berries, and to find this object on top of some poop as an ape-like hominoid. Why would they not eat it? Yeah, they want to know if it's warm. So it's very, very, very likely that they consumed, and through over time, eons, this helped develop the neural pathways to self-awareness, which then brought us through. Yeah, no, we're on the same page there. I tie this back to the Garden of Eden, to mankind, man being Adam, Eve being woman, and with that, the production of food, the eating of the fruit. It doesn't say it was a tree. They just called it a fruit. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But I truly believe the self-awareness, enlightenment was based off of eating food, mushrooms, cooking their own meat. There's a lot of things that intertwine there.
Right. Can you see my video, or because it's frozen on my end?
We lost your video.
Yeah, you're frozen, but we can hear you.
So how do I get my video back?
Should be a little symbol.
Side. Yeah, it says it's off and it says it's on. Can you see if...
Why don't you hop out the studio and just come back?
Yeah, just hop on. Hop out.
All right, I'll hop out. Will it upload it though still?
It'll give me 2 of the uploads. Yes, and it's fine.
Okay, so hit end call and then do it again.
Yeah.
So it's going to say leave studio.
Leave studio. Leave studio.
Yeah, no.
What's up, B?
No. I think that's pretty cool, man. Just the idea that our the powers that be, our governments, are the people that are in control. They are actively pushing and promoting things that clearly are, negative or have negative impact on us. There's alcohol commercials every time you turn on the TV. Right. And I'm not, you already know, I'm not an anti-alcohol individual, but as it pertains to what those who say they make better decisions for our lives than we make for ourselves, what they push, 9 times out of 10, you probably should be going the opposite way. Like, we see you. Good. Like, for instance, Marie and I, we sit and sometimes we would just watch the Vizio has their own channel on, like, cable network. You can just go see free TV, all that stuff. And for the last 2 weeks, I have made it a point that every time a drug commercial comes on to advertise drugs, I point it out. And then I told her, I said, Marie, it's gotten to the point to where sometimes I've watched these commercials and they talk so much and spend so much time talking about the side effects from the medicine, to where I fucking forget the cure, like the thing that the damn medicine is supposed to be curing, because like there's just for some reason we've been getting all these plaque psoriasis commercials coming on, and I don't fucking know why, but they've been coming on, and you know, they fucking go through like tuberculosis. Where the fuck did you find some old ass tuberculosis from? Like this might polio, or you know, this might destroy the lining of your intestine.
You might shit yourself randomly.
Not to mention that we're one of the only countries in the world that it's legal to advertise drugs to the population, by the way. And so like they're always pushing things that at the end of the day really don't have benefit to you. If there was a marijuana commercial, like what are they going to say? Oh, these guys were lazy, or these guys were calm, or these guys were having a good time and they went to
cause relaxation.
Yeah, may help you with pain. Or you know, I've done shrooms the last 2 weeks. I've done 10 capfuls of one, because I mean that's a big dose for me, and I wanted to talk to the Lord. I whoever he is, whatever, I wanted to see him and I wanted to talk to him and whatever. And man, I tell you what, I come back with such, in the moment and then afterwards, I come back with such a sense of like peace and reflection. I come back with a tenderness that I think the cares of life rob from you when you're just in the midst of the shit and the muck and the mire, and then when you take that, you're like I'm more gentle to my girlfriend, like I'm more gentle to my dog. I'm just more aware of that, for the lack of a better word, feminine.
Gentle to yourself.
Yeah.
Because we are our worst enemy. We beat up on ourselves.
Yeah, bro.
And when you can process a lot of that, you're gentle on yourself too.
Yeah.
That you just let the little things go. And you're like, it's just so much easier to cope and also relate to each other. I can relate to people, you know, really well. I feel like it. I can only imagine if I did mushrooms that it would be even more.
Yeah, it's good. Greg, do you have any I don't know, any stories or experience to where people have, you know, experienced like maybe healing or just like clarity in their minds or whatever through the process of consuming a psychedelic?
Yeah, dude, can you hear me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Yeah, because it said something about my mic. Yeah, I have like honestly countless. I didn't even know, but there's several that stand out to me. I had someone reach out to me and say that they were in the military, deployed on deployments, came back with PTSD and night terrors, and then went into law enforcement, but wasn't even able to be in law enforcement and had to retire out of that. I don't know the exact terminology for all this, but he said, you know, my wife, you know, found a product or your product, and said she bought it for him, and he took him, and he said the first night that he had sleep without night terrors in the past since he could remember, I mean 7 or 8 years, was after consuming some psychedelic mushrooms. And so that to me is that's just one. I've had another one where it was a husband wife, and they said that they were going to sign their divorce paperwork, and that night they both ate some mushroom chocolate, and they just got into a space where they were just like connected with themselves, and they got through whatever small things, as Joel was saying, that was driving a wedge between them, and they're not going to get divorced anymore. And then another one, man had, I think she was a 6-year-old daughter, and he couldn't connect with her, and like just was like, it was driving him, I don't want to say mad, but it was frustrating him, you know. He just couldn't connect and was like trying to be a good father, and he says, oh, I just eat one square of chocolate and I sit on the ground and I watch her play, and I feel connection and harmony between that. And he said it acted as a guide for him to find his center, and through that center, he was able to create more connection and be a better father in I would say a developmental stage of his child's life. So I mean, anyone can bring controversy to this, like you're eating mushrooms around kids or whatever. However, when you're born, kids are very connected. They don't have all the traumas, they don't have all the bullshit that has been shown to you on TV that you've been through, and they're more of a conscious being than an adult. They actually pick up way more, and so if I believe that our journey of life is about ever evolving consciousness. And if you look at the look on in the child's eyes, there's this sense of clarity, and there's just this look in them that's captivating. And you look at someone on their deathbed, they've got a similar type of look. So I like to ask, what happens in between? It's kind of like you come in the same way you go out, and the space in between is like, how do you maintain that level of consciousness or connectedness throughout your life journey, where you go through the things you're supposed to go through to evolve your soul, yet you don't lose sight of what we really are. And it's a beautiful thing. So there's like many plant medicines and stuff like that that can assist as a guide. And this stuff isn't a crutch. It's like, I mean, I used psilocybin mushrooms for a period of time where I went through some trauma, and I couldn't, it's not like I couldn't see a way out of it. I saw the way out of it, but the cycle I had self-created was so strong, because we're creatures of habit, that it was challenging to stop. If you do something over and over and over again, repetition, and to stop that is challenging. It's like, people can't even go to the gym every day or exercise or move their body. It takes 6 months at least of doing that repetition every day to create that cycle or habit. Arguably, people have been drinking since they were 21 or a year earlier. And it's like, you do that for 10 years through your 30s, and that's your constant cycle. You've got a decade of that programmed into you that you did. So how do you get out of that? And I'm going to stop drinking for a month. Like, good luck, and then you get people telling you have these problems, and you need to go to rehab. It's like, you don't have a problem. You just created a cycle that is so ingrained in you that you need something to help you get out of it. Or even if you don't need something to help you get out of it, you need a new awareness. And so I think a lot of this just stems from the lack of awareness in who we are, what we create, and what's around us. Because shit, you watch the TV and you get programmed enough. Every commercial that comes on about medical stuff, you're just constantly like, oh, do I have this problem? Oh, do I have ADD? It's like, no, you don't. You don't have ADD. You have an overactive mind. And so you're going to take a drug to speed up your central nervous system to match your overactive mind. And then all of a sudden you have all these other things. Because it's like, do you drive your car on the freeway in third gear at 5,000 RPMs? Do you think it's going to break at some point? Yeah, probably. So it's like, if your mind is going 90 miles an hour and you're at 1,000 RPMs and it feels different, they're just going to max out the RPM so it matches, so you feel comfortable going 90 miles an hour down a frontage road, or whatever the analogy is you want to create. Like, no, you don't have ADD. You have an overactive mind because of whatever reason, right? Calm your mind to match your central nervous system, and then you don't have that same panic feeling, so psychedelics can kind of bring you awareness to that, because if you eat them, all of a sudden you just notice like life is beautiful, and you're like, oh man, the trees are alive. Oh wow, like the earth under my feet, which most people don't even know what earth under their feet feels like because they're wearing shoes, and it's like a whole nother thing. And it's like, when you tap into that, or when there's something that can help guide you, you all of a sudden know more than you did before, and it gives you a point of reference to look at or walk down or bring into your life in a more profound way.
Man, that's powerful.
Boom.
Oh,
That
I could go on for hours about this, but yeah,
it is sad that our society is doing exactly what both of you said.
Mhm.
pushing things to suppress thought and growth and just kind of keep you in a box. This goes way back. The invention of marriage was a biblical point of view from the Catholic Church to control the male population, because without that, it was just they wouldn't settle down and stay in a city.
Yeah,
they were always moving and shaking, and to try to do that, they learned the MO is make it where we'll promote things we want, and we're going to demonize the things that we don't want people to do. And a lot of this, to your point, Greg, the Vietnam War was a big proponent of the LSD and mushroom attack. During that time frame.
Yeah, I mean, LSD is great too. It's like it's just got such a bad connotation on it. That's like the next, like, people are like, oh, you do LSD? I'm like, well, like, you're gonna make an opinion about something you don't know, but you're gonna take some crazy pain pill, or okay, just go take a couple Xanax and drink a couple glasses of wine and try not to kill yourself. Like, that's a challenging thing. So it's like, why would you do that if those two things are both perfectly legal? Ask me someone that ever killed themselves on a psychedelic or an LSD or, DMT or something like that. I don't know that you'll find one. And if you do, it's going to be an off case. Tell me how many people have eaten a couple Xanaxes because they're depressed or whatever it is, and the doctor told them that to take that, and they trusted their doctor, and then they go to have a glass of wine. Like, I know a person who rolled up in his sleeping bag and shot himself because of that same cocktail. And it's like, if it's so easy to have a glass of wine on some antidepressant that can mess with your brain chemistry so much to the point where you will put a gun in your mouth, and why do you have such a negative disposition on a mushroom that grows in nature? Like just think about it, And I'll ask you a question, Joel. Did you ever get hurt in the military, or have you ever been?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So when you were hurt, have you been shot?
Not shot, but hit IEDs.
You hit IED.
So I got 3 slip discs.
You got three slip
discs in my back. Yeah.
Did you end up at medical unit?
No. I powered through. I just I went and got looked at, but just refused to be put out to pasture.
Okay, so you've had,
because I could manage it, and then as you get older, it just gets worse, right? So I've had drop foot.
You've had friends that have been shot or hit an IED and lost a limb, right? And you've seen them in the medical unit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think is the most important thing to those people in that moment? Do you think it's feeling better, being healthy?
Management. Yeah.
Pain management. Okay. Now, would we say that if you've been seriously injured, what's the most important thing is, like, you want your health back, right? So if you're really psychologically damaged and you don't even know that there's a way out, how lost would you be?
Yeah.
It's a pretty challenging space to be in. And then you've got all of this stuff on the media, and it's like a movement, It's like, I know girls that take antidepressants, and they're not even fucking depressed. It's just like the thing to do. And so it's like, if you're in a space where you don't even know the way out, at least if you're hurt, you had your health at some point, most of the people, and you want your health back, And it's like, so why isn't there a way for people that are really challenged in their mind or in the way they live their life? Why isn't there a guide to that? There's only things that band-aid stuff and make you more sick or have more. But by the time you go through a couple different Adderall, Xanax, whatever SRIs that you're going to take, and all the other things start populating, you're taking 5 or 6 pills, and that's normal. And that's okay to do. And half those pills don't work with alcohol, but alcohol is what everybody does. Not everybody, but the majority of the people. Oh, I'm stressed out, I'm going to have a cocktail. And then they're in a suicidal or even further depressed state because their brain chemistry is messed up. So to have a negative opinion on something you don't know about, it's really ignorant, And if you take that awareness from that, and you just, there's a lot of research out there. And there's a lot of research about what you said about, the apes or whatever. I mean, the cavemen, we'll call it, it's like they ate mushrooms off the cow dung or the animal, the animal poo,
Shit.
and what happened was new neural pathways started growing and building, and all of a sudden they were making spears to catch
Yeah.
food, and then they're catching food and they're eating more mushrooms, and then all of a sudden we're here now, and then some entrepreneurial people were like, hey, let's build an empire, which is great, like, but at what cost do you build an empire? Is I believe you can do really good things and get people in alignment with building the same stuff that we have now, just in a better way. And who's to say that psychedelics or, you know, LSD or DMT or things of that nature? I mean, who's to say that those are so bad? You've just been told that they're bad, but you don't know. But you've
Yeah.
been told that something that has what has a addiction rate of like 95%. Oh yeah, take this for your pain management. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're told that that's good when there's all this data showing how many people die from it or get addicted to it the rest of their life, but you can Google how many people, well, you can Google the same shit about psychedelics, and you'd be challenged to find even a fraction of the amount of adverse data as you can, other than some old things like old movies in the 80s where someone's like tied down to a thing, like, oh, this person took LSD and lost their mind. It's like, you don't lose your mind. It's not possible,
I don't think anyone's died on LSD either.
No.
Record.
No,
There was a beautiful podcast from Radio Lab about that, and they really dove in on they found the guy who developed it, and he's still alive. He's living in the woods up in, I think, Oregon. And he's a scientist, and you may know his name. I've heard it a couple of years ago, and it kind of blew my mind on like that there's not one recorded death of overdose on LSD or mushrooms.
Yeah.
I don't think you can, honestly. Like,
yeah, it's wild.
You might get into a little bit of a challenging acid loop, or you might actually have to face yourself. Like, I mean,
that's what it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
but like
it's
we're all in loops, like you're in a reality loop, and the problem is we live on an infinite plane of existence. Everything's infinite. That's just the way it is. And when you put yourself in a box, then you're only can go as far as that. It's like, I don't know what the masses do. I know what I see from my experience, and I know how I live my life, and I know that everything that I think about appears in my life magically. So I'm really careful about what I choose to think about, because I don't want bad shit to appear. And I've been in such a clear space for such a long time that, it's like I do everything from a centered place and from a higher power. And I just channel the universe through me. You can call it God, you can call it whatever you want, but it's like there could be, the question is, where is God in your life? Like, where is that? And ask yourself that, because there's more. Even what we're doing now, it's bigger than us. It's like I could think about being on a podcast with a name called Post Not Clarity. Like, I'm challenged. I'm challenged with that, because I'm like, do I want to go on a podcast with Post Not Clarity? Like, but I'm just like, you know what? Like, there's like Joel's disposition on what he said. He's like, I don't really care what anybody thinks about it. I feel better after it. It's like, because everybody on the podcast is literally in the now. So it's sort of like a space of a meditative, clear space for him. And I get it. So I wouldn't be on here right now if it wasn't for Joel's disposition. And like, who cares? Like, maybe someone watches this and it moves them, or maybe not. Maybe we create more cohesion. Whatever the outcome is, I couldn't possibly imagine it. And if I did, it wouldn't. It's gonna be more beautiful than what I could think. So
yeah, 100%. I appreciate that, man, and thank you for saying that. Because it's shock value, but it's also just fun, and it's somewhat of a truthful statement to. It really is a truthful statement. You're just like, you change your chemistry after you're not driven by this animal instinct. That's really kind of the driver of it.
Yeah,
and y'all see my little tootie here.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
there's
gonna be right back.
okay.
No,
Yeah,
keep going.
good.
Yeah.
I think and to what Joe was saying, and even to what you were saying, about allowing the powers that be to dictate what's good and what is bad. Like, you think about our government, it's probably the most immoral thing that's unethical thing that's ever existed in our known human, history. Yet it's telling you what you should do, what you should not do, what you should say, what you should not say. And it goes back to the Garden of Eden thing that Joel was talking about. When Eve bit the fruit, according to the story, her eyes were open, and then immediately they realized they were naked, and the Lord comes to them and said, "Hey, why are you covering yourself? Who even told you you were naked? And who told you that being naked was a bad state to be in, to where you had to cover yourself and hide yourself from other people and or other things?" And I just saw online today, Louisiana has made it law to where kids to where the 10 commandments have to be in the school and they have to be read. And I sit there and I look at stuff like that and I'm like, Louisiana, the fucking 10 commandments, these motherfuckers can't even half read, and you're going to make something mandatory for them and ignore like the other important things that you could make a mandate, like, I don't know, making the minimum wage higher, or putting in things that are going to help the less fortunate more, or making teachers, having them have a higher salary so they can do their job better, to make sure that your kids are learning in an efficient way or whatever. And so when you allow these unethical powers to tell you what is ethical and what is right, instead of allowing, like, there's an old adage, a Hindu adage, and I'll make it quick. But the gods came together and they were trying to figure out where they were going to put the divine, where they were going to hide it. And so one says, "Hey, we'll hide it on the mountain." And they're like, "Well, no, if we hide it on the mountain, then man will become smart enough and they'll be able to reach up to that mountain and grab it." And they say, "Okay, well, we'll put it in the depths of the ocean." It's like, well, no, because one day man might get smart enough to get down there and grab the divine as well. And then they all looked at each other and said, "Well, you know what? We'll put the divine in man himself, because they'll never think to look within themselves for the answers or the solutions to the problems that they face." And I think that is where I found myself a lot of times. I think that's where our society, that's where our world in general has found themselves, where we've got people and things making decisions about the finite and the infinite, of every aspect of our lives. And I think we need to, we're surrendered to the wrong things. We're surrendered to the things that say they're going to make it easy, or they're going to protect us, or they're going to watch out for us and all. And in reality, they have shown time and time again that they don't have our best interests in mind. Michael Jackson said they don't really care about us. Like we already know that they don't. And so I think that we should strive to figure out, number one, what is it that I'm called to do in this moment, which may be different from 5 years from now. And then I also need to ask myself, what have I been told that I shouldn't do? What have I been told that I should stay away from, that might actually be the answer to the breakthrough that I'm trying to get to? Man, it's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of, like what Greg said, children are much more in tune. There's a book called The 7 Agreements, and it's based off of, when you're a child, you grow up, you don't know all the agreements that have been put in place that you have to follow until you run into it. You're then told by your parents, well, that's just how it is. That's how we do it. We drive on this side of the road. We do pay an electric bill because that's the power company's decision to give us the power. And we purchase homes because it's the American dream. And we got to keep up with the Joneses, and we got to do this, and you got to go to church, and you got to eat this type of food because this is what's being served. There's fast food. So you see, it's all these agreements. Everything in our life is agreements that we did not agree upon. We did not agree upon them.
Yeah.
We look at it and like, oh, I guess this is the way, just the way it is. Now I agree to doing that. And it's that monkey. If you heard the scientific paper put out about that monkey who got shocked, it was a test on understanding. So they put a thing among bananas at the top of this pole, and it had an electrical pulse that when you went up and they touched the banana, it would shock them.
Oh yeah.
And they had one in there, and it went up and it touched it and it shocked him. And he did it a couple of times until he just did not go up there anymore. And then they put another monkey in, and that monkey started going. He pulled him down. He stopped him from doing it. And they did this over, and then they took out the very first one, the only one that got shocked. And they only had ones that never been shocked. They put another one in, and at this point, they're stopping them. And no one that's in the experiment now has ever been shocked, never experienced the effect of why not? And so it's beautiful that I feel encouraged that we as a society, this, if you want to call it, let's do the quotes, the awakening of society, we're getting more and more of that, where we're challenging that antidote to, like, that's how you have to do it, because that's how it's always been done. Well, why?
Yeah, well,
I'll keep going.
I mean, the TV was...
I'm on daddy duty as well.
Okay, Big Daddy.
Yeah,
Such is life.
Yeah, my girl's gone, so I'm not on daddy duty right now.
That's funny.
But I will be when she gets back into town. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I think what you're, again, everything, when it all boils down, is that there's a level of, the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. And I think society, the programming that has been given to us, we don't want to face the hard things or the hardships or the trials or whatever. And so we're willing to give up parts or portions of our freedom.
Yes.
In order that less would be required of us for whatever it is. You know, like, for instance, there are people, this is not a slam on anybody or any job. There's people who will work at McDonald's for the rest of their life as a line cook or as a janitor or whatever it may be. And good for them for being gainfully employed. But in order to, you know, let's say Joel makes $300,000 a year. In order to do that, more is required of me as an individual. And so in order for me to stay in this shallow water, there's a level of freedom, there's a level of decision making that I willingly give up in order to stay in this place of comfort and complacent. But Paul said, I've learned to be content in every situation that I am, but not complacent in whatever situation that I'm in. And so I just think, in order for us to start experiencing the life that we really want to experience, we've got to be willing to take on the responsibility. Have you ever heard someone say you can't unsee what you've seen? Like, there's people, I don't know how much Joel told you, Bobby, but I'm a carnivore as far as my diet and things like that.
Yeah.
There's people whom have reached out to me about the diet, about my experiences and all this stuff, yada, yada. And I give them everything. And then they go back and they go talk to, I don't know, maybe their fat husband or their diabetic grandma or whatever.
Do fat people scare you? Yo, it's a real thing.
Marie has it. Marie has fat phobia. But the first date I ever went on with her, she went on for hours.
Yeah, she was scared of you?
No.
Shut up. Well, I don't know. This dick was fat, so maybe that kind of took the place of me being fat.
You either got the big dick or the bad credit. You know what I mean?
He can sing too.
Yeah.
Like, and I had one client who, bro, she had fibromyalgia, PCOS, eczema, metabolic syndrome, high blood pressure, diabetes, and alopecia. Her hair was coming out. She's 325 pounds.
Oh.
She the first month of working with me, she lost 18 pounds. The doctor took her off of her blood pressure medication. He cut the lisinopril in half for the diabetes. and the eczema that was on her arm went away, and the hair stopped falling out. Okay,
Yeah,
so
of course.
she saw the results, and they were positive. She went back to her doctor, and the doctor, same doctor that praised her for having all these results, when he found out what she was doing to accomplish these results, he automatically put her back on the same diet that she was on prior to being sick, and he put her back on all of the medicine, and she gained within a month she gained all the weight back, and everything that she was dealing with has come back. And I asked her, I said, why are you okay with this? She's like, well, it's my doctor. I said, I can't say her name. I said, you've already seen it. You can't unsee it. So now you're having to deliberately choose to give away that portion of your freedom of your life because of, what someone has said. And it's just mind boggling, that people can see and still choose to blindly go a different direction.
Yeah, I think there's I observe a lot myself and my surroundings, and I don't, I've been going out to eat a little more than I normally do, and I was sitting at the bar and I had my headphones in. I was listening to something classical, like violoncello thing, and I'm eating my food, and it just feels like harmony. And in that moment, I was looking around and I was watching people eat, and I felt desperation. And that led me to this conclusion where it's like all of the stuff they're putting in the food, the processed foods, people are addicted to it. It's a chemical that's
Oh,
a
bro,
drug.
don't get
It's
me
an
started.
it's an addiction. Yeah. And so, you know, it's like I don't know you that well, Brandon. I just met you, I
Yeah,
don't know, 30 minutes ago. But like I feel into what you're doing and trying to create, and I admire that. I admire that in anyone. And it's like you only have so much energy to give. And so people like people like that, it's like part of their path just to do whatever they're doing. And you showed her something, you gave it your best foot forward, but ultimately it's like people are so addicted to the food. I mean,
yeah,
it's like you put a bad name on psychedelics, but you take all these other drugs. You say, "Oh, someone told me vegetable oil is good for me," and you get your fries fried in vegetable oil. And my friends and I grew up in, like, it's not like a farm town, but kinda. Everyone had diesel trucks and shit. And it's like my friends are like getting their hazmat license to go suck the vegetable oil out, and they're putting it in their trucks, and it's running their truck. So you're eating diesel fuel in your food, and you think that that's okay. And
yeah,
so it's just a state of awareness. And I was fortunate and blessed by we didn't have a lot of money when I grew up. I never felt any type of way, but I was in the grocery store with my mom, and she got this milk that was a local milk, and it was like, I don't remember the price. It was like $2 a gallon, where milk was 99 cents or something. And I knew that we looked at what we spent our money on, and I'm like, Mom, this other milk, it's only 99 cents. Mom, this is twice as much. Let's get this milk. It'll save money. My mom's like, Greg, this milk doesn't make me feel good when I eat it. And this was when they were just first giving the cows hormones to produce like
sure.
5 or 10 times the amount of milk. And I'm like, Mom, it says it's safe, because I saw it on the Television on one of the programs. And yeah, so and my mom is like, it doesn't matter what you hear or see. She's like, it's how you feel. And she's like, I don't feel good when I eat this milk with the hormones, and the hormones that goes into the cows are going to go into the milk, and they're going to go into you. And she's like, you're a growing boy, and I don't want something messing with that process. So we're going to spend twice as much money on the milk, because that's what's good for you. So I think that, subconsciously at a young age, I was sort of programmed with looking inward. And it's with everything. Like, everything I've done has been based on an intuition, and through that intuition you get a God connection, or a universe connection that kind of flows through you. And with that, you know what to do. It's like the carnivore diet's great. There's so many diets that are great, and I like to look at those as a guide. I don't eat any one specific diet. I just don't put anything in my body that harms it. So that is my diet. Like, I'll eat a potato, and I'll eat bananas, and I'll eat steaks. But I eat crackers. I eat Mary's crackers. And, like, they don't have anything bad in them. And go try and find stuff without vegetable oil, soybean oil, fucking
palm
Grapeseed.
oil,
Whoa. Oh
all
God.
that shit. All that shit.
All
It's
the
crazy.
oils.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
All that shit. It's well, and what people don't realize is that with just talking about food,
Mm-hmm.
the food that we eat, like you go to McDonald's or you go to fucking Chick-fil-A or, I mean, a bowl of cereal is, I mean, is more lethal than a goddamn mushroom. You know what I mean? Like, but these people are in a lab and they
Yeah.
are scientifically creating these food. It's not my grandma in Louisiana trying out recipes and shit and say, oh, this is homemade. No, this is factory fucking grown. It is formulated to get you addicted to it. Period. Like that's the whole fucking purpose. You go right now and you go look at a Popeye's chicken sandwich. There's 42 fucking ingredients in a Popeye's chicken sandwich. You know how many is in mine? Aside from like some seasoning, it's just the fucking chicken. Or you go to Chick-fil-A and there's like 52 ingredients now. And no wonder we want to go there every fucking day because it's been made. It's designed to get you to want to come back more. I've never sat down and ate one fucking Oreo. Never in my goddamn life have I sat down and ate, unless that was it. Unless there was only one Oreo. I've sat down, I've at least eaten one sleeve of the damn thing because that's what it's created for. And you don't realize how much, like, you want to talk about being addicted to cocaine or being addicted to weed or whatever. Being addicted to a fucking Oreo or a Popeye's chicken sandwich is way more detrimental than smoking weed or taking a mushroom and we know this. You can fucking prove this. We're sicker than we've ever been. We're fatter than we've ever been. There's more diseases, unnatural fucking diseases, than there's ever been. And you want to look at the mushroom and tell the guy that the mushroom's bad, not the 18 grams or 80 grams of fucking sugar that you're feeding you. Me and Joe were talking about this before. I've eaten so many fucking Pop-Tarts as a kid in my life. Like, it's not even.
Pop-Tarts are great.
I know Pop-Tarts they're fucking phenomenal.
I haven't eaten that many, but like when I was a kid, I'm like, oh man, a fucking Pop-Tart. Yeah.
I fucking tore up some cereals, some fucking Shipley's donuts. These are the things that were sanctioned as good to be given not just to adults but to kids. You know, and
we give it as rewards.
We give it as a fucking reward.
Yeah, you want? It's like
ice cream, and I'm guilty of this because I did it yesterday with my little girls. I went and got them a little ice cream because they were good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like,
so you poisoned your children. Cool.
Well, I'm saying how even self-aware people can fall into these little loops from your childhood.
Dude, if I have a kid, I'm raising like Huckleberry Finn, bro. It's never gonna have a needle in its arm. It's never gonna go to school. Like, I don't care.
No shoes.
Yeah.
As little as possible, at least.
I love Huckleberry Finn.
I mean, gosh,
character.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm down for that. You know, my dog, he only eats meat. I've never fed him kibble since I've gotten him. I got him when he was like 10 months old. So he only eats meat. And like people think that's the craziest thing, but you know, he went to the vet the other day. The vet said, man, his teeth are these are the whitest teeth on a dog that I've ever seen. And then, you know, he did his blood work, he did all of that stuff. And they asked me, he said, what are you feeding him? And I said, you know, I feed him meat. And you can automatically, and I said, well, what kind of meat? I said, well, I feed him the fucking chicken on the bone. I feed him the goddamn beef bone. I feed it to him frozen because he eats it so goddamn fast. You know, and they're like, well, you should be careful. I said, but didn't you just congratulate me for the positive things that you've just seen? Like my dog's he's so healthy that when he shits, it turns into chalk. The flies don't even eat it. Like we have another neighbors downstairs, and so we share the same yard now. And their dog shits in the same yard, and I didn't even realize that my dog didn't have flies on his shit until the other dog started shitting in the yard, and flies started showing up. And it's because of his goddamn diet. It's trash the way that we and so just with all of it, like we've got to be conscious, whether it's food, whether it's TV, whether it's music, whether it's politics, we've got to be better guardians of the
Yeah,
shit that we let in and
you
out.
should take some pictures when the dog's shitting and make like a little coffee table book out of it.
Yeah.
You know, really, really just showcase it.
I love coffee table books. The best one
You
is the
know,
coffee table books about
it's just
coffee table.
Brandon's dog taking different shits. You know what I mean?
Different
Like
types of
you just open it up and it's like, oh, this was a shit in the park. Oh, this was a shit in the sandbox.
It's
You
the
know,
same shit.
it's the same shit.
It's so chalky, like that. It's so chalky. I don't have to pick it up. I can go and just beat it into the ground. It's so much so I left it inside of our poop scooper the other day, and our neighbor was like, "Man, this is some old ass dog shit." He thought it was like 38 years old. It was like 2 days old because it just disintegrates, like just poof. Anyway,
Perfect.
I love it.
Well, on that note, yeah, yeah.
My kids don't shit chalk.
Oh,
We got a fly epidemic here.
I mean, the thing is like, I think it's like almost like everything's systemically broken. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, and it's not from a point where it can't be healed. I really believe that anything can. It's like, you know, people get so concerned about like moving forward. You know, it's like trajectory is the most important. So, like, if you're in a really challenging position in your life, you don't even have to move forward. You just have to turn on a different trajectory and you're going to naturally go in that direction, right? So it's like my part of my purpose is like, it's like you just point in a different direction and
Yeah.
you start to go there. So without thinking, just turn, you know, it's not hard. You
Well,
don't have to think about taking a step, you know, it's like that's too much.
and
Just
great.
turn.
Add to that, you being a boatman, just 1 degree at
Yeah.
a time.
Yeah.
Over time, that 1 degree, you are going to be so far from where you were.
Yeah.
That recreates the pattern of the success of it. Just small changes in your life.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to do huge changes, and it's like
That's
you
not
don't
sustainable.
have to do it so rapidly. Just do small changes.
Yeah, you'll get
Do
to where
this.
you're going.
You will.
If you
But you're going to
want,
be so far over time away from your original trajectory that change will come and it will happen, and you will see it.
it's great
more
to
and
know where
more
you want to
over
end
time.
up. You know, it's really great to know where you want. I want to end up healthy. I want to end up rich. I want to end up whatever. Right? It's like, okay, if that's where you want to end up, you can't just get there overnight. You've spent years of your life doing something different, pulling you away from that. So just turn in that direction, and everything will start falling off of your life because you'll start to just go that way. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I watch this all the time, and the problem is like I was scrolling on Instagram, which I don't really ever do, but I was looking on Instagram and I saw this ad, and someone's promoting this little Coke tutor, you know, and I'm like, and it's like this little thing where you put this scoop in and then you can like sniff it. And I'm like, and I'm thinking like, I didn't write on it because I hate to give engagement to these people, but I'm like, you are perpetuating that out of all things. You're perpetuating someone having a more convenient sniff blaster for their fucking weekend thing. Like, do you think that's going to make you a better person? And if that's, you know, if you're creative enough to create a little Coke sniffer, like, what do you think you could do if you just tried to create something good? And it's like, that's what you're choosing to perpetuate for money. So I can discern that this person just wants to make money. And I like to ask this question is like, you know, the most important thing isn't money. It's waking up healthy the next day. You could get any amount of money, but if you took that amount of money and the trade for that money was not being able to wake up the next day, what would you want to do? You want to wake up the next day, right? I mean, so why is it so important to you to get so rich if you're just gonna if you're just gonna be the same miserable person with money that you were before? So it's like it's so confusing, you know. It's like, Joel, when you got out of the military, I mean, if you went to Applebee's after getting out of the military, that'd be like a 10, you know. You're eating MREs or whatever horrible food, you know. It's like, but you go to Applebee's 10 times, you're like, this place is busted, you know. And you're like, this is horrible. I never want to go to Applebee's again, you know. And so then I said, hey, Joel, here's $1 billion in a G8, you know, does like 700 miles an hour. Fly to Paris and go to the #1 restaurant in the world or whatever. You go there 10 times or 100 times, that place is busted, you know? So it's like, what good, where do you go from there? It all leads you back to here. So it's like, most people aren't ever going to achieve a point where they can't buy some sort of perceived satisfaction. And I think that's a challenge because it's like, I don't know what things cost, you know, like, I don't know. I don't know. And then you hear people like, oh, this costs so much, that cost, like, oh man, it's like, who are you? You know, it's like you go out and you spend $20 on a cocktail and you're bitching about eggs being $9 for brown eggs. So you're buying some eggs that are like $4. It's like, dude, you could have bought enough eggs for 2 weeks if you just didn't drink the cocktail. So it's like the whole system is so convoluted with stuff that it's like there's such a great space to produce or to put out something good in a way where it will just, people will find it. So it's not about forcing into the system. That's what I like. Psychedelics are like a magnet, you know, it's like people will come to them because like shit, they're left with no options, you know, and
Yeah.
as more and more media it comes out, it's like, you know, maybe I'll try that. What do you got to lose? What do you
Yeah.
got to lose?
Yeah.
What, you might feel shitty the next day if you think you will or whatever. Okay, well, how do you feel after you drink some cocktails and eat some processed food, dump a bunch of soy into your body as a man, grow some man boobs, you know, like, oh, that sounds fun too. I mean, maybe that's what they're into, but it's like, like it sure does, you know, to each their own. I don't know,
Brussels
sorry, I'm on it.
sprouts make man. Brussels
I
sprouts make
want
man.
no man boobs.
Yeah,
No man boobs.
yeah. You want to
What do
shrink
they
them?
call it? Gytoclamas.
I don't know what the term is, but you're
You know, I've
close.
never. Yeah.
It's a medical term.
Yeah,
Sensitive boobies. Little
yeah.
nipples. All
Are,
sensitive.
are your nipples sensitive, Joel?
No, but they're always hard. I'll give it
Oh,
that.
really? You're
I
always
have
hard.
I'm a stimulated affliction.
You're going.
I'm always beach ready.
You're always beach ready. Yeah.
Greg, what's so what's on your agenda? Like, what do you have coming up? Like in the near future? Like, what are your plans for you, for your company? You know, what's happening?
You know, that's a interesting question to ask. Um, you know, I'm just gonna be a little vague about the subject because
Sure.
there's two reasons. One is when you're building energy in something, um, sometimes sharing that can actually spill the energy out, and sometimes if you're really discovering something profound, there's not a lot of words to go with it, and so when you try to put it into words, it it becomes really challenging. And once you've started on that path of trying to explain it, you're kind of committed to, you know, making the person or the audience or whatever like understand that, and then that takes a lot of energy. So for the sake of not taking any energy out of what I'm doing, I'm on. I know my purpose. I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there, but I know I'm getting there to fulfill that fully because I already am, right? So I basically have an array of businesses um, that cash flow, and I perpetuate only things that I believe in out of a good, godlike, centered space of light. And through that provides cash flow for me to take care of the families that support me in living in my true expression. And where I'm going is into a space that gets, you know, it's a small space of more and more wealthy people where there's like there's a lot of broken billionaires, you know, and that are in a cycle that are, it's really challenging. And you know, the drinking, the drugs, the girls, the all of that stuff. And it's like some, you know, some of my friends is just like it's hard for them to see a way out. And it's like they'll golf 20 days straight, drink every day, and tell me I don't feel good about myself, you know. And in that space, of them sharing, because I have a really centered, safe space, it starts to create like some sort of a bond, of a healing bond, and that starts to fuel something else that I'm doing and something else. And so the businesses sort of produce the cash flow that runs through my payment processor, which interfaces crypto to fiat money, which is going to be a more and more needed thing as we move into a space of digital currency. And so that is in harmony with me and what I'm doing. And it's also creating a good space in the crypto world, in the fiat world, and in businesses that actually, put out things that are good for people. And consciousness expansion, healing, and things like that is really where I like to stay. And there's a point of where you've got these really wealthy people that make decisions in their life from whatever place that they're in, and it creates a ripple effect in society, humanity. And if those people are out of alignment, how do you think it's going to make everyone down the line feel? It's going to create the environment that that most of the population is existing in. So
Trickle down.
yeah, and I believe that the world changes by helping one person at a time. So if if you can think of humanity as everybody's around a big ocean, and everyone's side by side, and that's the whole population. It's big lake, round lake, and there's all these people that are helping the individuals next to them, and then you've got this wealthy community where they just drop a boulder in the middle of the lake and it just washes over the shore and everyone gets disheveled. So it's like I'm really laser focused on helping the people that are dropping the stones, because I believe that if there was a calmer sea, then the healing on the outside would just go exponentially, and it would create a better world that we live in. And so this is sort of like my awareness on it, my intention. I don't know exactly how this is going to work out, but I'm transcending into this beautiful space. And it took me a while as an individual to get to where I am, because I'm a very loving, connected man, and I have a really tapped in on how I feel, and wanting to do good. And that's sort of a challenging place to be in if you're not fully concrete, ironclad, crystalline, rock solid on knowing yourself, because you go into a space where it's filled with wolves, you're just going to get eaten. So
Or
over
become
the
one.
last, or become one. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't do that. I'd rather just live on my sailboat the rest of my life. I could fucking care less.
Yeah.
But and that's the thing. I was like, yeah, I'll just live on my sailboat. But I, I just have more to do. And so as I walk through this, world that I'm living in and creating in the now, um, I'm just blessed along the way, and I've already made impact on people that do employ thousands of people, and that's that I've seen really amazing shifts. And I'm not doing anything other than just being me in a space that is aligned with other people that don't have a point of reference. So it's like I'm just my business is just me being me, and I'm supported. Like, I don't manage anybody. Like, I've got a bunch of people that work for me. I don't manage one person, because I've created a space where people have attracted to me, and I have been given every person that I need when I need it to run a certain division of whatever company I'm working on. And I don't spend the time playing the puppet master, which I have done, and it doesn't work because I only have so much energy to give, so many pep talks I can say, so much time in the day. I wouldn't even be able to be on this podcast right now had I not believed in what I felt internally, and I just went with, what I was told. Oh, you can't leave your company, you can't do whatever. I'm more engaged in my company by being what a appears to be disengaged because I'm just creating a space for people to exist in, and not, it's like my purpose has become their purpose and their purpose has become my purpose because they're supporting me to be in this space and I am flowing back what they need via money to them. So everybody has what they need. I'm perpetuating only things that I believe in, that we believe in, that are good for people. And that's creating, I mean, I don't know how many thousands of people I'm impacting, but I know it's a lot. And I don't have to think about that because I'm just doing what is right.
That's
Does that
amazing, man.
does
Yeah,
that get
yeah,
closer to? You can ask me
yeah,
more questions, and I'd
yeah.
love
No,
to
no,
answer
no,
them.
no. That's,
Man, vague but not vague. That's what I got.
Yeah.
It's actually beautiful because what people tend to do is talk about a product or a thing, but what you did is you gave a heart of a company, an
Mhm.
expression of yourself, and what that's probably the most beautiful description of a of a it wouldn't it's more than a company. It's an expression of yourself,
That's
which
like a
is
family.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought that was amazing. I
I
do
mean,
want to ask
yeah.
about some retreats. We briefly talked about them. Do you run them or just attend them or
Um,
co with someone? Because I'm
well,
really interested in that. There's some growth retreats that I was like, man, I really want to try
so
this. I've never done them before.
yeah, so what we're doing is, I like to call them an advance, and it's kind of how some people, it's some people, sometimes you need to retreat to advance, right? So, um, I like to bring the awareness of like, what are you retreating from, and what is that retreat going to do to advance you? And here's the thing, like, people go to retreats to do some Mickey Mouse healing and get their massages and do whatever it is they do. And then they go back to their lives feeling like I could give you a fucking pep talk right now. You feel good for a few hours. You know, you could go to a retreat for 7 days, get this clarity, and go back into your life. So it's
A lot of
about
nutting at this retreat.
yeah,
A lot of nut.
a lot of that. Yeah. So it's about integration and not being told. So what we create is an environment where you can be and actually get something from yourself. So we have like women and a few guys that we do music that's really tuned to, it's sort of like a guide on a journey. So if you couple some plant medicine with the right environment, with the right music, toned to carry you on an experience, and you have the proper, I don't want to say plant medicine, it's called a sacrament, so no one can get um, any which way about it. And this is something that you can use to skip all of these steps of fighting things. So if you go to an advance and you partake in some sort of ceremonial sacrament, and that is done by people who actually understand how to carry you on some type of journey, because you can take mushrooms and go to a bar and the spirit will get mad at you because you're in this crazy environment and leave, and then you have more of an empty experience. Or you can go sit in nature, eat some mushrooms, and you can realize that the trees are breathing, the earth is alive, you're connected to that, and you can just be present in that moment. Then the next step to that is, how do you integrate that into your daily life, right? So um, it's basically like, I'm not doing anything to tell anyone anything. I'm just more of an of in a space where I'm holding a space where you can be shown a way, and maybe a little bit of guiding through through music sacrament, and you know connected people of love, and you feel that, and that moves you, and that starts to integrate in your life. It's like you're getting a seed planted in you, and that starts to grow, and so that will clear things out over time. If you go to a retreat and you just have fun and, get some pep talks from people, then you're going to feel better for a certain period of time, 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, whatever. No matter what it is, that feeling of energy will dissipate. Now, when you go and you're moved by a group of people that are all there with a certain level of intention to evolve or grow, then you get a feeling of it, and that feeling never leaves you. It might get convoluted. You might build back things in your life, but you're coming from a space of new awareness, right? And it's like we do rapé things too, which is it's an herb. It's tobacco and other herbs and ash mixed together from it's in the Amazon culture, and there's other.
Brendan, have you done this?
I have not.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, you should do
I'm
that.
very jealous.
Yeah,
I've-
you should do it. So,
I've done this tobacco, and it's very clearing.
yeah,
It's I guess the representation that I've heard was it's to clear your mind, to center yourself, come back to, and reconnect with
yeah,
these long-term memories and these neural pathways that's already been produced and made. At the same time, it's like coming back to a center, like, because
yeah.
you can get off, and it's
So
like it pulls you back.
yeah, so basically, a lot of people are living up here, and there's just all this chaos. And when you rapé, it just goes boom, and it shows you a place of true stillness where you could meditate and try to meditate for years, never find the space. You rapé one time, it'll drop you into a space of stillness, and from that space of stillness, your energy system starts to clear. And even things in your body, sometimes people purge the first time, and it's great because you're clearing. But once you get into that, once you see that space of stillness,
You
you're
can't
for
unsee it.
you can't unsee it. And so that space of stillness acts as a guide. I could tell you, I could explain. I don't have any thoughts in my head ever. Like, I don't. What I need comes, and it took years to get here. I think there's a term for it that I was like, how does that happen? But that space of stillness is where everything can create from, and where you get a deep inner peace, and people can really feel that. So if you didn't know that space existed, how are you going to find it? It's going to take 30 days sitting in a cave with, Buddhist meditation monks that spend, dude, some people spend 30 years in a cave, and like, that's got to be such a profound experience. Not my life journey. However, if you could get a sliver of that in 10 minutes, and that can show you a space that you more than likely would never be able to find your whole life, even if you spent an hour a day sitting with yourself with no guide, then why wouldn't you try that,
I need it
And
today.
yeah, well, we'll link up, and I'll hold a little ceremony for all of us, and I'll rapé you, and then
Yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. But this is something that you have to be shown. You can't just pick up the rapé and the applicator and blow it in your own nose. Like, that's what I do. But like, it's traditionally done where some shamanistic type of person, I hate that term, but just for lack of a better one, um, you know, does it. It's like a monkey bone or like a different sort of applicator. And so like Brandon, I would just load it, and I would just blow it into your nose, each nostril, and then you sit there, and I might say a couple things, like just allow everything to release, just find that space, sit in that space. Some people like feel uncomfortable in it, and they start to try and talk, and then that makes it more challenging. So a little bit of guiding, not much, just to keep you in that space consciously, gives you something so profound that years of working at that, you might not ever find that space. So it was a lot easier to be shown that space. It's like you're solving the maze backwards, It's like, I'll show you the space through something that is so amazing, that is, there's nothing illegal about it. Like, it's tobacco and other herbs from the Amazon. They ash them and they blend them together. I'll show you. I have some. And so, but people won't do that, you know? Like I'll rapé sometimes and people look at me like I'm crazy. You know, I'm
like you're doing crack or something.
yeah, like blowing something in my nose, you know? And I'm like, and it's interesting.
Very unique. It's unique because the application and the way that you have to get it and the breath work that you do. So it looks like this, longer and a shorter. So one piece is in your nostril and one's in your mouth, and you want to close the passageway off from your nasal passageways to your throat. So you don't want to breathe. You want to talk like this. Do you see? I've closed off that passageway so it changes your voice. This is the indication that you are actually doing that.
Yeah.
But when you shoot, it's a nice, consistent breath. It's not like it's like a wisp. And here it is.
So that's an applicator. So I just blow it into your nose like that. And then it's got some miles on it, but that's a self-applicator. And just,
Yeah.
so, and this is what it looks like. It's just, there's some candle wax on it, but
That's
yeah,
crazy.
it's just a little ash. And so you just do that. And this is a monkey bone. That's, you know, and this is just an ivory piece, but you know, it's like with people like you can sell a drug, you know, that's just something you take. This is something like you got to know someone that knows what this is, that's in a clear space to actually, you know, do it for you. And
I know a guy.
Yeah, I know a guy too.
You gotta know a guy or girl.
Yeah. I mean, I was with, you know, it's funny because when I saw you, I was with Isabel, you know, and we were with her friends. And she's been rapping with me like once a day when we're together, you know. So like, you know, at least four times a week, you know. And we're with her friends, and so Izzy was like, she was like, "You guys want a rapé?" and so anyway, I ended up serving her friends, and it's like the feedback I get when I serve people is just so crazy because it's like, you know, it's all the same thing. People find this. So one girl purged. She just lives an unhealthy lifestyle, and it was great. And after her purge, she was just so clear, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I've never felt this way before in her life," you know. And so I'm like, that is so powerful.
Man, I want to do this right after this podcast.
I'm like, where the fuck can I get this shit to?
Let's compare notes here. Do you scoop out? Do you have a scooper that you divide in your palm, and do you scoop it up towards you?
Hold that thought, because I want Marie to see this live and in person. Hold on.
Okay.
My girl is a psychologist, and she's going into she's starting she's herbal school now, so where she can I want to hear this.
You gonna do it?
I'll rapé. I don't give a shit.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna get mine done. I've got like maybe 7 different types that I was given.
Yeah.
And do you have a particular type there?
Yeah, this is yanapumashop.com. It's a brand in LA, and it's a friend of me and my business partners, and she gets it directly from the tribes in the Amazon. It's
yes,
really,
okay.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean,
I'm
not. Yeah, she could use
Can they go bad? Can they go old?
Oh, if they get moisture in them, yeah, I would.
Okay,
because
mine are in like sealed. Because I just have had it over. Like there's a lot I had.
Keep
smaller vials.
Yeah,
and they're sealed. But when I pop them open, they're very chalky. So
yeah, as long as they're chalky.
So.
The thing is like sometimes mold spores can be trapped in them. That's that. So if they stay wet, you could potentially go bad, but that would be a really few and far between thing.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
she's in now. She's looking.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, beautiful.
So, how are you doing?
Oh, great.
We're good.
So he's talking about rapé. Okay.
It's
spelled
RAPEH, and then some other cultures are HAPE, like hape and rapé.
Rapé.
But I call it rapé.
Not
You
to
know?
be confused with rape,
Yeah, and then I'm like,
as it's spelled.
My
then I'm
church
like,
is
Spelled the same.
rapé.
like, honestly, yeah. So this was done like, yeah, I don't know, like monthly or something. I do this shit every day because it's like so amazing, you know, and it's like it just brings you into such a clear space. And I mean, I don't need to do it. It's just it adds to my
I'm
space
gonna go
of
get mine.
being centered.
Be right
Okay.
back.
I wish you were here, Brandon. I'd love to rap at you right now.
Oh,
And
bro,
your
I would,
girlfriend.
I would, I would rap, I would rapé whatever. But so this
But
is
yeah,
a
so I'll show your girlfriend since. Okay, so it's called rapé, and it's from the Amazon, and it's tobacco and other herbs and ashes, and they put it together. They pray over it and things like that, and
Nice.
you blow it in your nose. It's a snuff, and so it's not like you're sniffing it in, like doing drugs. You're kind of blocking off the back of your throat, and then I would blow it into your nose, kind of gently, and it coats the inside of your nasal tissues, and then your body absorbs it. But what it does, it clears your energy system, and it brings you into a deep space of stillness, like instantly. It's like bang. And
Oh,
yeah, it's really amazing. And so what I was telling Brandon, or was I explaining to Brandon, is that um, you could spend your whole life trying to find a place of stillness that you don't even know exists, but you're told, oh, meditate and do this with very little guidance. Like I have yet to see, and like I could show you very simply how to drop into a space of stillness for like this little moment. It's like, and well, I can share that later if you want, but this, you blow it into your nose, and it just grounds you, and it takes everything from up here, and it just goes, and it like brings it down, and then it almost feels like light is vibrating off of your skin. Oh yeah, perfect. So it almost feels like light is vibrating off of your skin, and it's your energy clearing. And some people that are really like live an unhealthy life, they'll actually purge the first time because it's such an intense feeling, which is such a good thing to if you can actually purge.
yeah.
But after doing it so long, oh, and I noticed a difference. Like if I eat something, I eat super clean, but you can only control it so much going out to eat. It's like I might get a steak that had some vegetable oil on the grill because it's just diesel fuel, and
Yeah.
just to grill the steak off. So I get a little bit of that in. I go home and I rape. I can actually feel a difference in my energy system as it's releasing that kind of chaos in my energy system. That's like because it doesn't really
Yeah.
know where to go, and so it just like you can almost process like anything with it. And I haven't eaten processed sugar for like 3 years, but like every once in a while you'll eat something with a little tiny bit of sugar in it or whatever. I mean, I eat fruits and stuff, but like I think I had a bite. I had a bite of something the other day, and it had some sugar, and I was like, oh man. But when I rapeed, it was like this was like really vibration because it's just like even that little bit of sugar just goes, whoa. It's like it
Yeah.
just clears you. It's amazing. But yeah, this is what it looks like. It's just a little powder. I can,
crazy.
I would open it, but my cloud couch would not love that. Yeah,
So I was given a little scoop, perfect size
yeah,
and amount. So once you're scooping it out, I usually dry my palm
yeah.
to kind of divide it. And you have two nostrils, so you create like two little pockets. And I haven't done this in a minute, but my body's already reacting.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Honest,
Yeah, it's that
yeah.
powerful of a.
Oh, I
And-
love it.
And honestly, if you're really clear, you can actually when you hold it in your hand, you can see it, like you can feel it, like it's like breathing. It's
Oh,
got
so-
such an energy to it. It's really powerful. It just
I
makes
love
me joyful. Oh shit!
I will. I'll do one now.
And that's monkey bone, you said, correct?
Yeah, you're gonna rape, Joe?
Mine's wood. Yeah,
I can
mine's
rape with
wood.
you. Hold on, let me go move my computer. I'll rape with you. Here, I'll show you my routine.
Okay.
Now I got
Give me a-
FOMO.
Right?
Give me a second. I'll take you on my Joel. Wait, because I'll take you on. I'll do.
Okay.
Hold on. I just have to vacuum this off my couch because I dumped them over, and then
So Marie, I'll give you some technical aspects to it. you have to close the passageway. You don't want to breathe.
Right.
So you want to, the application is closing off where you sound very like
Sorry.
you're only talking through your mouth and not your nose.
Yeah.
So you're closing that passageway off. So when you're actually giving it, blowing it into your nose, you're not breathing. If you breathe, it'll go down into your throat and you will purge, you'll choke,
Gotcha.
but it's more of it's a whisper of a blow too. Once you're like, you go into a meditative state, take some deep breaths, just real deep breaths. Do like 10 of them, focusing on just everything, letting go, kind of just wanting to be one with yourself, letting go all the stress, anxiety. And as your breathing techniques, you just keep doing that to a point where you're ready to administer it. You do close off the passageway, take a deep breath, and when you blow, it's more like a, not a, it's like this whisper,
Okay.
and you're just releasing it. Quite beautiful, and it sounds really good, and it feels when you breathe right, it's right.
Right.
It's a very, but it takes you to this place, and you want to do one nostril and then hurry and kind of do the next one. Not hurry, but load the next one while this is sitting, and then the next, boom, and then you set in it.
Heck yeah.
Have tissues because you're gonna probably drip a little.
Yeah, you gotta
I
blow
like
your
to
nose.
I like to hold it up there just a little, and then eventually blow it out after a few minutes.
Do you before we go, do you guys, because we've been on for 2 hours, do you guys want to go ahead and shut this down and just do this off camera?
Let's do that.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I think we should have Greg back.
Because it is a spiritual thing.
I think we should have Greg back for part 2.
Heck yeah.
At some point. Because
Yeah.
I mean, it's just 2 hours of just gold.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg. I also, my two things are like consciousness expansion and how money flows.
Oh, I love it.
Love it.
I
So
love it.
that's like,
Something I'm
that's like-
focused on.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll
It
blow
is-
your mind with money flow.
Speaking her language, boy. You're speaking
Yeah.
her language, boy.
Oh, we can go
All
into
right,
birth
I'm gonna
check.
end this
Yeah,
show,
let's end
we're
it.
gonna roll.
We'll do it again. Yeah.
All right. Love this. Post 9:30 out.